tire rub on a Toyota Tacoma is okay. What? Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. So tire rub on a Toyota Tacoma is okay? No way, man. You know, it depends on who you listen to, but it's amazing to me the amount of advice out there that is simply incorrect. People telling and saying that they've put these tires on their Toyota Tacoma and it's okay, no problem. We're gonna get into that, but real quick before we do, make sure, if you haven't before, you click that subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Well, let me give you a little history before we get into it here. You know, way back when I was a wee tot in the Tacoma modding world, I decided I was gonna lift my first Toyota Tacoma. It was the Barcelona Red. And of course, in doing that, I was gonna put bigger wheels and tires on, and I did. I lifted that thing with a 3.2 ready lift, 3 inches in the front, 2 inches in the rear. I put some 20-inch wheels on that truck with some big old Giganto Nitto Ridge Grapplers. And I gotta say, I love the look. That truck looked awesome. But I had issues. I had ride quality problems. We're not gonna go into that, and that's because I had such a narrow tread wall on that setup. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem was the rub. You see, I went ahead and put them on, and I even asked the shop about it. I asked them, is this gonna be a problem? Is there gonna be a rub? And they said, no, there won't be any problem. This is from a shop, a professional shop. Well, there was, in certain circumstances. Now, maybe I should have been more specific. Maybe I wasn't educated enough. And that's what I would blame it on. But I think when you ask, especially a business, if there's going to be a problem, they need to tell you under any circumstance whether or not there's going to be a problem. Well, there was a problem. You see, I first discovered it when I was going out of a McDonald's parking lot. I took a sharp turn to the right, went down a steep little decline or an indentation, a pit is what it really was, between their driveway and the road. And sure enough, I got a rub. I could feel it in the steering wheel. I could hear it. It was horrible. And immediately I felt shocked. The kind of shock that you feel if you bite down on a piece of foil when you had those old silver fillings. Now I realize they don't make those anymore, so I'm probably dating myself, but it was like an electrical shock in your mouth. Very disturbing. That's what it felt like for me. So I eventually went to a smaller wheel and a smaller tire to alleviate the problems that I was having. Now, I mentioned, a lot of people will tell you it's okay. They'll get on the web and they'll tell you that you can put a humongo tire on your truck and you're not gonna have any issues. Now, that may be true if you've lifted the truck high enough to alleviate that problem. Also, it depends on the amount of offset that you have. The further out you move that wheel, the further out you're moving the tire. It changes the angles under there. And what I'm talking about, in case you're not familiar with rub, maybe you're new like I was. First of all, in the back, unless you go with like a John Deere tractor tire, you're not gonna have any problems back here because the tires don't move. In other words, they don't turn. So unless you go really high or something, or have a bad leaf spring set up or shock set up, you're not gonna have any troubles back there. It's up here in the front that we have problems, right? And there's all kinds of problems you can create. One is up here in the front. When you turn that tire, if it's further out, it's gonna bring that corner, that edge, and this edge closer to that front filler area. And when you turn, it's gonna contact if you're not set up right. Same thing here in the back. If you have a bigger tire and bring it out and it's not set up properly, you're gonna hit either right here on the edge when you turn this way, or you're gonna clip right in there on the edge when you turn this way. There's nothing worse than that. Now, another thing to consider is right here. You're gonna hit right against here if you are too close. You need to have, at least in my experience, 1.5 to 2 inches in clearance inside. You need to make sure that it's not too close, that when that tire articulates, in other words, when it goes side to side, moves around, when you turn, all that good stuff, that you're not going to be contacting anything under there. You know, recently I did a video about someone who had put smaller wheels, and this is another consideration, on their truck. It was an F-150, and the wheel was actually rubbing the tie rod because they had a different suspension put on, brought the tie rod further out. It was actually contacting the wheel. Not to mention the calipers were too big for the wheel, and they were knocking off the balance weights that were put under there. It's all kinds of things to consider if you're gonna do something with different wheels and tires on the Tacoma. Now, I have an example. The other day, matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, I was out cruising around, stopped in a parking lot because I saw the new Hyundai Santa Cruz, which I like, by the way. And they had a different wheel and tire setup. They went bigger on the tires. Still, I believe it was an 18-inch wheel, but bigger Nitto Ridge Grappler tires. And when I first saw it pulling up there, I thought they've got to have a rub, and they did. It was about a 4 or 5 inch patch inside the fender well area in the front where that tire was scraping against their inner liner for the fender. Now, the reason that was happening is probably because when they're going down bumps and things, the front end of that truck was dropping and the tire was scraping. Now, that's going to cause them problems down the road because eventually that knobby tire is going to chew right through that inner fender. And once it creates a hole, those tread little risers in there, if you will, are going to grab that edge that they've created. Eventually, it's probably going to rip that fender well or that fender liner out. A big problem you don't want to have. And what I'm talking about, the same thing can happen in the Tacoma, right down in there. If that tire is impacting that inner liner, eventually it's going to wear a hole through and give these big knobs an area to grab onto. And when they do, they're not going to be very forgiving. They're going to pull that fender down, probably break the clips around the inside, and potentially even pull it off. I've seen that happen before. I've actually seen trucks going down the road with that inner fender liner hanging down, contacting the tire. And that's probably why. So anyway, tire rub on a Toyota Tacoma is not okay in any form. I would say that if you have a tire rub on a truck, on a Tacoma, it is not a good install and it is not a viable setup for that truck. Leave a comment, let me know, and be honest. Do you think tire rub on a Toyota Tacoma is okay? Do you have it on your truck and you just live with it? I'd be curious to know. Also, once again, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels, Robmotive JT, all about Jeeps, and Robmotive FST, all about full-size trucks. For now. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.